All right, so guys, welcome back to the Bavsound Stage 1 speaker upgrade, E64 convertible. Let's get started. So we need our plastic panel removal tool because we will be removing this piece of wood. You might have aluminum, you might have carbon fiber. Regardless, this piece has to come out. It's really straightforward. Come back here on this back edge, just wedge it under there like so, and kind of turn. And we just make our way around. You know, we're just prying it out like so. And once I get it started, I like to use my fingers just to pop it out. Just running my fingers along the edge, very cool, calm. There's always that one guy, you know, who back here, he had a little too much to drink. He didn't want to party. So we come back there. And we tell them, you're coming no matter what. So as you can see, it's just little tabs. So that reveals 1, 2 Torx T25 bolts. And we have one more that secures this panel. And it's right behind the window switch. Same thing on the driver's side. We just come up here. Actually, you know what? That's just easier to use your fingers. I just put my finger under there, lift it up. You can see there's just a couple of little clips. We pop that up, unplug the window controller, and that reveals that last Torx T20. So we still got a couple more little things we want to uncover before we start. You can see behind your door handle here, there's a little round circle. Using our right angle pick. Be careful here. I mean, you're not going to hurt anything at all, but you might leave a little mark. Just be conscientious when you're doing this. So you put the little tip of the hook tool between the seam here, push in. It should have just popped right out and fallen into your hands, but nevertheless, it's out. And that reveals another Torx T25. And there's one more that's going to be pretty difficult to show you guys, but it's up here in the vent. It comes up and there's another little circle pop out just like this one here. And again, we use the same methodology. We just get our hook tool in there, pop it out, and I'll show you guys. So it's back there like so. So same thing. That actually reveals a Phillips head screw, interestingly enough. Why they did that? Maybe they ran out of Torx bits. I don't know. So let's go ahead and pop this Phillips head bit out back here. And then we'll take the other 4 screws out. And then this panel comes right off. So it's really straightforward. All right, so with those guys out, we now have all 5 screws out of the door. Last little thing we're going to do before we take the door itself off is there's a little light down here. And we're going to take our plastic panel removal tool. It's kind of, you guys can see it. We're just going to pry it under the light. The light pops right out. You can see I just depress this little tab. It pops right out. And we unplug the light like so. Plastic panel removal tool. Do not use metal on these leather wrapped doors. You will have some very nice little scratch marks on your door if you do that. So we'll get back here. I kind of come back here. This one's tight. That's good though. Let's see. So we get it freed. Once I get one done, boy, I tell you, they build these Sixers really well. I guess they should. We spent so much money on them. So again, we're just using this to free the panel. You can see I'm just using my hands, and now the whole door is free except for this top edge, which is where we're going to come next. And so there's metal clips that are attached to this window trim here that we need to get the door off of. So it's always a little fun. They're always, always, always tight. There we go. So then you see the lock here. So we want to lift up off of that lock. You can see that comes off. So that's all we're unhooking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clips there. And we now, as you can see, you see an airbag here. So we've got some plugs to unplug. First of all, we've got our LED plug right here. Be very careful with this. We just depress in, unplug like so, and we are free. We've got this thing, which who really knows what that does, but we unplug it. Now we take our metal panel removal tool out of our toolkit because we need to undo some little clips back here. And again, mind you, if this really doesn't take more than 5 minutes to get this whole panel off. It's really not that complex. So we're just disconnecting a couple things. Look at that. Airbag's all rusty. This is a pretty darn new car too. So now we unplug. Do this clip here. Like so. And this is kind of, I wouldn't say it's tricky, but this clip that goes inside of the window housing, check this out. So it just pops out, just that little ball holds it in. Just another little light for the door, so we're being very careful with that. So that is unplugged. And now the magical airbag removal, which again, it's not that bad. Got a Torx T20. I think that's actually a 25. We can use a 20. So we take our 25 Torx. So we unscrew this airbag. Again, just don't be a moron when you're messing around with this. Don't drop it, don't throw it. We pop the airbag out, just run a little wire tie through it, tie it up here out of our way. Airbag's fine, like so. So we've got our harnesses unplugged. Now the last thing we need to do is disconnect our door handle. And you can see it's up in here. It's kind of like routed out of there. And we just lift up like so out. So to get the tweeter pod off, there's a little tab up top that just pops in, and then there's one in the bottom that goes into a little slot. So we actually need to remove the top half first, like so, and then we lift up and out. You can see right back here, this little tab, so that it sits down in this little U. We lift up and out, and it comes right off. So lift the top out, lift up and off, and then the tweeter pod comes off. And then we just pop out the foam, take off the 37 feet of wiring. We're going to take this up to our workspace so we can get the new tweeter installed. So we're here in the workspace, our 6 Series door panel. We're going to get the speaker off, the factory mid. We're going to get this thingamabob off. And we're going to apply sound deadening in this general vicinity because there's a lot of plastic resonance going on back here, and we want to calm all of that down. So the drivers are held on with Phillips heads. So say bye-bye to the harsh mid-range you've been enduring for years. And now we'll get this device off. We take our sound deadening that we've sent you. We do the same thing above the speaker to the side of the speaker. So let's kind of look at this. Let's kind of do, again, we're just eyeballing stuff here. This isn't rocket scientists, and however you're doing this, you're not doing it wrong. So brilliant. Got our old driver here. Here's the new Bavsound driver, woven fiberglass, curvilinear cones, inverted surrounds, beautiful drivers. We're replacing directly our factory speakers. So again, this drops on just like the factory speaker did, exactly the same way. There's no slots in the speaker. This isn't some random half generic speaker. It's tailored specifically to this car. So the holes line up perfectly. Bring the wires down here on the side. Tape them just nice and out of the way. And leave them up here so that when we plug in our tweeter, which is going to come from up top, it's very easy to do so. Got our factory tweeter in its housing. Here's the new Bavsound tweeter. It's machined one-piece aluminum housing. It's absolutely sexy time. So factory speaker, let's get it out of there. Prop, there, it's already, all we're gonna do is pry it out. So we got these little tabs here. So let's just basically take our little angle tool, and just take a couple little pries. It'll come out of there like so. Cool, so the factory tweeter pops out. No more ear-searing aluminum domed tweeter. gnarling your ears. You have a beautiful silk composite, snaps right in, just like the factory tweeter. This is such a tight, perfect fit that sometimes it takes 2 seconds, you know, it takes a minute to get it in there, but it's an absolutely perfect fit. So as you can see, it snaps right in there and it's tighter than the factory. And now you can see the beautiful aluminum outer ring. It's a perfect match in there. So the tweeter snaps in, we take this foam, put it right back in place like it was from the factory. Voila, we're done. All right guys, so we've got our new tweeter installed, the pod's ready to go. Before we install it, you'll notice with your kit came a couple of these little capacitor harnesses. You might have actually even been sent 4 depending on the system. At any rate, they always go between the tweeter and the mid-range. This protects the tweeter. You must install it. I will know if you don't because you'll call me and say the tweeter sounds really, really, really bad. And I will then say, did you install this? And you'll say, oh, I didn't. You have no reason not to, so it just plugs in, done. All right, the way this installs up top, we've got our clip here, and then this front lip. We just get that hooked, and then we snap. It's that easy. That's all it is. That pod is now installed, and why don't we just go ahead and use that factory tape that was taping the factory harness down, like so. So remember, before we put the airbag on, we want to do our door handle. So again, you can see this door handle piece. Make sure it's closed. So with your left hand, close the door handle, then this snaps in like so. And now we can go ahead and do our business here, where we're tucking this back in. Now, we're gonna do our airbag. Again, let's be careful with it. We just cut the little wire tie, throw that off to the side. Let me just reinstall our airbag. Just drop it down there. Again, guys, there's no risk of doing any damage here. These were meant to be serviced. They were meant to be removed. No fear. It's no problem. Again, using our Torx T25. Put these guys back in there. Get them all snug. Snug, snug, snug. Excellent. So, get that done. Go ahead, get our little light back down to its area. Where were they clipping that? Oh, let me see. Oh, that clipped right there. Okay. That clips on right there. Our light wire is down there hanging, waiting for the light to come back. We plug in our fancy LED lights. Again, be careful with this. These little pieces are really seemingly unnecessarily fragile. I don't know why they do it like that. All right, so now we plug in this weird thing that nobody knows what it is. Leave a comment if you know what this is. We just plug in stuff in here. Nothing complex. We've got the weird light again to deal with. Actually, you know what, before we do that, let's go ahead, plug in our mid-range and then our tweeter, like so. Let's move that one down a little bit. I don't like that. There we go. All right. So that's for our window. This is for our little weird. Let's remember, there's the little light. So it faces down. It snaps in like so. Now our window is waiting. Where the heck is the window guy? He goes in. Where's your little hole, guy? You always leave a little hole for, there's the hole for the clip right there. So that goes right there. Oh, wait a tick. That's good. That's the window. There's 2 of these 4-pin plugs. You want the one with the red wires, the brown and the yellow to go in there. All right? Is that right? That's right. Yep. Goes in there. There. This is the window. All right. Now window guy goes in there. Everything is plugged in, and now we come back up we make sure, lift this, whoop. We get that in there like so. We get everything lined up magically the way we do. You can feel, you get the top done first, then you just snap, snap, snap. The top edge is done. We can now kind of lift a little bit. You want to get all these clips lined up, and you'll feel they just kind of slot into place. You'll feel them go. Perfect, perfect. And we just go tap, tap, tap. Good, good, perfect. Brilliant. Our panel is back on as we originally intended. So remember, black ones, the long ones go down here, the short Torxes here, and then the Phillips head back here. So brilliant. All right, you snap these guys back in. This one's contoured, you can see. So it's actually keyed to go in one specific way, so you can't goof it up. This one again just snaps right in. Voila, like so. And last, well, not quite last, we plug in our window, like so. Just snap her back in place. And the very last thing we do is plug in our light. And I suppose I've said that's the very last thing, when in fact it is not. We still have our super sweet custom trim piece to put on. So I'm gonna get down here. You get everything nice and lined up. It's all keyed. And then just with the palms of your hands, just what is almost brilliant. You can now, the doors are just so nice and dead from the sound deadening. Everything went back together brilliantly. These cars are so well built. You know what, it's a good time for a beer. Not for me, but for you. Cool. All right, guys, here we are in the dash of our Sixer. We're gonna replace the center channel, which resides under this grille. Most of you are gonna have this extended leather dash. Most of the Sixers do. So again, for that very reason, we do not use a metal panel removal tool up here. If I even hear about it, I'm coming to your house. So it's not gonna be pretty. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna come along this seam, we're gonna get it out with the tool, and then we're gonna use our hand as much as possible to work it out of there. So it's really tight, as you can see. So it's tight, tight up in there. The extended leather always does this. So again, you gotta work it a little bit. I mean, these things are tight. It seems like I'm blind up here, so there we go. So with everybody in attendance now, we pop this out, we unplug our sensor, and that exposes our center channel, which, imagine a metal speaker firing 6 inches away off of glass, and that's why you're hard of hearing. So again, we're going to use our Torx T20 with the little angle bit that's included in your Bavsound toolkit, and we're going to work this guy out of here. And now we can simply lift our mid-range out, just unplug it like so. And that completes the removal process. Obviously the installation is the reverse. Got our new upgraded center channel here, nice and smooth. Again, just like the door mids, we're using a fiberglass composite weave, curvilinear cone, inverted surrounds for nice smooth roll off. I like to pop off this rubber boot. It's just aesthetic. Just pop that off with your fingers. You can use it as a koozie of sorts. Nice little thing to have. We just need a little bit extra room down here. So not going to be using this tweeter extension. Some of the center channels need tweeters, these don't. You just plug in our connector like so, drop the new driver right down into the dash. Perfect, there we go. Now I can see that it's actually lined up. All right. Excellent, so start them with your fingers, like so. and we just use the reverse. Fantastic. All right, so installed, done. Obviously the reverse is going to be the opposite of the removal, so we plug in our sensor. So get everything kind of lined up, and then slowly and methodically push down. Perfection. So now center channel is complete. We are here, guys, in the back seat of our E64 convertibles. It looks like it's, you know, complex to get this out. You can have the entire back end of this car out in just a couple of minutes. Let's get started with this. Very straightforward. First and foremost, we're going to pop out this cushion, lift it up out of the way. We're going to pop up the bottom cushion. Just grab it with our hands. Lift it up, lift it out. Got our back cushion now. Climb up in here. You got to get your fingers. You'll feel a bar on either side. You just rock. Rock the cushion up out of the way. Put it up in the front seat. Same thing over here. Rock. Cushion pops right up, and the back seat is now held in by, there's a 10mm bolt, or nut rather, down here. You can't miss it. The 10mm bit is included in your Bavsound toolkit, so we'll just pop that into your screwdriver like so, and now this back cushion is free. So we just need it free. We don't need it out of the car necessarily. So we got this 3mm Allen. That too is in your toolkit. We get this guy out of the way. Put him over here. And remember, just like your front door panels, your wood / carbon / aluminum, we pry this guy out of here. Let's see, why don't we get... It's easier when you're not sitting down in the car like this. How about I come out? Actually, you guys can even see better this way too. This comes out just like before. Let's put that in the front seat out of harm's way. That reveals a Torx T20 back here. So we want all of our bolts. Let's get them where we can't misplace them. We've got two more screws actually. We've got one right here, which you can see. Again, it's a Torx T20. Just fold the seat out of the way. Put this guy right up here as well. There's one more screw holding this panel in. We have to lift the convertible top up to access it. So do that. That out of the way. There is one more screw right here. Again, a Torx T20. We pop her out like so. Now we come here to this front edge. We just take our fingers, pull this off like so. Take our fingers under here, pop out. So this whole panel is now pretty darn free. We've got it kind of hooked down here too, but it'll pry right out of there. We don't want to necessarily take that off. And then we pop this out like so. Actually, there's a little plastic arm right here. It's on both sides. We just pinch right here, disengage this little plastic arm. All right, so we've got this screw free. We're gonna come over here, loosen this one. We don't need to take it all the way out. It's a T25 Torx. We're just loosening that up because this just slots in, as you can see. It just slots out like that. Yeah, all right. We just lift up the whole panel. Boy, this one's tight. There we go. Out and up. Which frees up our panel here. Use our metal panel removal tool. And that frees up our panel in total. So we unplug our mid-range driver. We've got a little module back here. You guys can't see it, but you'll see when you're over here. Unplug our module and we pull out our panel with our mid-range. So brilliant. Cool. All right guys, so here we are on our workbench with our E64 rear side panels. You can see we've got both panels up here. And this one is obviously in one piece. And this one, as you can see, is in two. So sometimes when you're taking the car apart, the top half comes out and the bottom half comes out separately because this just slots into the bottom part. 1, 2, 3, 4 little tabs. So sometimes the top comes out separately. Sometimes, in this case, it all came out together. So if yours comes out in two pieces, no problem at all. Just go ahead and snap them back together and put it all in at once. Or quite frankly, I mean, I think it's probably easier to put in this piece first and then come back and put the top piece on. I mean, it's not really that much more difficult. So anyway, let's get back to the task at hand, which is getting the speakers upgraded. So factory mid-ranges, again, just held in place by Phillips head screws. 3 of those guys, out with the old and with the new. And just like we did in the front doors, do a little sound deadening back here all around the mid-range area. So the tweeter comes out counterclockwise, screw this ring, lift up, tweeter drops through, and we'll get back to the tweeter in just a minute. Let me actually move this out of the picture. It's just causing a little bit of trouble right now. Put you right there. So, just like before, in the front of the car, take a little sound deadening, and we just want to get it. Again, we like the bridge panels together with the sound deadening material, just to keep it nice and dull back there. I'll do a little bit up here. Cool. All right, so now we drop the new Bavsound mid-range on the platform, just like we did the factory driver. We reinstall it like so. The tweeter is a little tricky. This is like the one part of it which BMW kind of did a weird little install. They use glue to hold a panel in, and we're going to have to use a little bit of adhesive on this tweeter. Even though it snaps in there perfectly, we want it completely secured in the housing. So the mid-range is secure, all is well there. Let's get over to this tweeter. We've got our new upgraded Bavsound 20mm machine tweeters we're going to pop in, a silk tweeter. So we're going to take our metal panel removal tool. You can see back here, there's a little gap. We're going to pry off this back plate. It's glued in here, so we're going to pry it off. Okay, so it takes a few minutes sometimes. Keep it down a little bit lower, sure thing. So you're going to break the plastic, it's fine. You're not going to mess up the front of it. This is the least elegant tweeter solution we have, but the tweeter's still a direct fit. It's still a brilliant piece. It's just a little bit wonky in terms of the process. So the piece just comes right out of there, no big deal. Which leaves the factory tweeter, which then we just take our pick tool, shoe prise, right out of there. I just destroyed this one. So she comes right out. There's our nasty little wicked harsh aluminum tweeter. Our new tweeter drops right in, snaps in, as you can hear. Doesn't move at all. We're just overcautious, so that's why you notice your 20mm tweeters came with a little tube with this E6000 stuff, which is brilliant. General Motors uses it to adhere a lot of stuff, and you don't need much. You just need a little dab. You guys remember the old, what was that old hair gel when you were kids? A little dab will do. That's all you need. Just a couple little dabs. A little silly. But then we take the tweeter, we pop it back through the hole. It's keyed. The housing is keyed. There's only one way it goes in. You can see the little key that lines up there. Then we take our ring, drop it back down, around it goes, pulls things nice and tight. Perfect. We plug in our tweeter to our mid-range. For you guys, there is not an additional tweeter harness. It's built right into our tweeter. So just do it. You can kind of do it sort of in that little factory area right there. A little cap just goes in there. And kind of like we did with the front speakers, I like to take a little bit of tape. Again, this is just to keep things nice and clean. Just take a little tape, tape that down like so. And that way when we take the factory plug to plug everything back in, it's nice and clean. So we've got a nice, pretty install. You can see the gorgeous aluminum ring popping out of the factory tweeter grill. And that completes how we would do this. So now we've got the panel back over in the back seat, and effectively all we're doing is reassembling what we've already disassembled. So we're plugging in the little funky module, we're plugging in the mid-range. Again, make sure your tweeter is connected to the mid-range, so we're just getting that plugged up like so, and effectively we are fitting the panel back in the way we took it out. So we just pull the seat forward, kind of get it situated. We've hooked it down underneath the little door sill edge, and now we're just slowly popping in the little plastic tabs, just getting the panel situated, and you'll feel it get situated, and then snap, 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 it just securely finds its way back home. So you can see, you just get everything lined up, and then we come in now. We're going to go ahead and reattach. This is just grab your Torx driver, kind of snug it first, and then just tighten it right on up. All right, fantastic. With that tightened, let's go ahead and get the seat out of the way. Get that one bolt underneath the armrest back in place. Boy, you just never think you're going to lose your hair, you young guys out there, whew, the second you see it going, man, you gotta fix it. You gotta do something. I don't care at this point. I've got a hot wife, and it doesn't matter. Boy, oh boy. I also wear camouflage pants just in case. I needed to hide in the bushes somewhere. And my Kenny Powers t-shirt. So now we just fit the top panel back in place. It kind of slots back down into the little slots on the panel we've attached. Just being careful, again, to get it lined up with the foam out there on the padding in the door sill. And it's just going to situate itself in there, kind of snap back into place. Be firm, but gentle. Get everything lined up. You can see it just kind of snaps right back in. Get everything lined up. There's that little tab in there we want to get back lined up. It'll situate itself perfectly. You can see down in here. And then just pop, pop, pop. Just snap right back down into place. Perfect. And then, once that's situated, we hop back up here, again with the top kind of open as it's been the whole time. Just tighten that Torx bolt back down. Snap the back seat in, snap the headrests in, get the 10mm bolts on the underside fixed.
Down low, nothing complex. Again, this is just reversal of what we did earlier. If you've forgotten by now, you've been drinking too much and you should probably put it off till tomorrow. All right, so why can't I lose the hair on my arms? You know, I don't need arm hair. It would have just, what are you gonna do? I got a pretty sweet hat collection, that's for sure. I'll get a toupee as well. All right, so we got that little Allen bolt right back behind the secret windshield holder. Now we got everything back in place. We just snap on the little cover, our wood grain or aluminum or whatever it might have been. Snap the headrests into place. Not much finesse required. No, sometimes these little white pieces stay on the little tabs, so we get to pry them off. They snap right back into the panel. And right back in place. Line it up. Be firm, but you know, you don't use your fist when you're knocking it back into place. And at this point, the bottom of the back seat will just drop right back in.
All right, guys, so here we are. We're in our M6 Cabrio, but this is a Logic 7 or a Harman Kardon tuning kind of guide for those of you that have done the stage 1. So let's hop into our settings here. This is kind of, and again, I've been doing this so long, and all of our ears are different. I acknowledge that, but basically the key is we want bass and treble flat in the Logic 7 cars. And then we want to go into you can turn your Logic 7 surround on. I think it's horrible. I think it really colors the sound and does a lot of bad things to the music. So I turn it off and then I go into my EQ. You know, there's no need in these cars to artificially boost 100, 200 hertz because the woofers in here, they just, even upgraded woofers, you're not going to create any more output. We're limited, so we don't want to distort anything, so let's leave it flat. 500K is getting into our mid-range, lower mid-range, kind of mid-bass even. So that can get a little peaky, so you know, flat, maybe +1. It really depends. I still would leave mine flat. This 1 and 2K, that's straight up mid-range. So if you are driving with the top down, maybe bump that a little bit. Again, I like to leave it flat. That's just how I always listen. The 2K, we're starting to get into some of our tweeters' responsibilities on the lower end of things. So again, we want to be careful with that. So let's keep that maybe flat or +1 again. 5K, you can do whatever you want with. Those of you that are a little older probably might go a little bit higher. And then with 10K, if you're over 50, you don't hear that anyway. So you can do whatever you want with that. But again, maybe that's where you can pretty much leave that flat, maybe +1, 2. But again, you kind of want your EQ largely flat. Anywhere from 2K and up, you can tweak it to your personal, to your ear. But 1K and down, flat, maybe 1 notch up. Otherwise, we're just distorting the preamp signal. So let's just leave everything pretty much flat. This is how we maximize the sound in the car. This is how we make sure we get a balanced, neutral sound that's going to last a lifetime. It's not going to fatigue our ears. It's going to enhance the drive and let us rock on from now on. All right, this battery is about had it in this M6, so I'm going to fire the car up. And on that note, guys, we are gonna sign off and see you guys on the next round. Thanks so much for stopping by.